Hola and welcome to ProSpanish. We're going to get started straight away so that you can see just how easy it is to learn Spanish quickly. And to more advanced subscribers, you may want to skip forward to the time frame that comes up on screen now, or you can stick with us for some extra practice. Okay, I'm going to start by introducing some of our target language, and it's important to stress you don't need to try to remember any of this. As the lesson develops, you'll find yourself retaining more and more of this language. Okay, so we're going to begin with a look at, well, let's have a look at the first three that come up here. So to go to the party, to go to the bank, and to go on holiday. And you'll notice that they all start with ir, which is to go, ir. So ir a la fiesta, to go to the party. The fiesta, la fiesta, the party. Ir a la fiesta. And then we've got ir again, because it's another to go. Ir al banco. Ir al banco, to go to the bank. Fairly easy to remember that. Ir al banco. Next we have ir de vacaciones. Ir de vacaciones. And you can see vacaciones is a bit like vacation. So it's to go on vacation or to go on holiday. Ir de vacaciones. So that's the first three. To go to the party, ir a la fiesta. To go to the bank, ir al banco. And to go on holiday, to go on vacation, ir de vacaciones. Next we have jugar al fútbol. To play football. Jugar al fútbol. What do you think this means? Jugar al tenis. To play tennis. Nice and easy, and most of the sports that we play are like this. Jugar al rugby. What do you think that means? Jugar al rugby. To play rugby. But we'll stick with to play football. Jugar al fútbol. Next we have to do something. To do something. Algo is something. So to do something, hacer algo. Hacer is to do. Hacer algo. To do something. And underneath that, we also have to do something, but this time it's to do something active. Active is activo. Activo. Notice the letter V there is pronounced like a B, b, activo. That's always the case in Spanish. The V is pronounced like a B, activo. So we have hacer algo activo, to do something active. And under that we have another to do something, but it's to do something useful. Useful is útil. Útil. So, hacer algo útil, to do something useful. And there are so many like this that are very easy to recognize and to guess. What do you think this is? Hacer algo importante. To do something important. What about hacer algo diferente? To do something different. And it goes on and on. We could have hacer algo interesante, to do something interesting. Okay, but the basis is hacer algo, to do something. And in fact, in the next one, we have the word different, diferente. We have algo diferente, something different. But this time it's not to do something different, it's to order something. To order is pedir. Pedir. So pedir algo diferente. To order something different. And that could be in a bar, or it could be ordering something from Amazon online, for example. So pedir algo diferente. To order something different. How do you think you would say to order something useful? What would that be? Pedir algo útil. Pedir algo útil. To order something useful. Okay, let's go down to the next one. Español, Spanish, obviously. Hablar español, to speak Spanish. Hablar español, to speak Spanish. Hablar inglés is to speak English. Hablar inglés, to speak English. Hablar italiano, to speak Italian. And our final one is salir, to go out. Always easy to remember as to sally forth, to go out. Salir, to go out. Okay, so let's have a look now at how we can start our sentences, our phrases. And again, don't try to memorize as we're going through this. Just follow the flow of the lesson. And it's worth noting, in my levels 1 to 6 course, we go at a much more relaxed, step-by-step pace, using lots of techniques to make the language stick. But just now, we're trying to squeeze a lot into this video because I want you to know and be inspired by just how quickly you can actually learn Spanish. Okay, so we'll start off with I want. I want is quiero. Quiero. And let's look at the one underneath at the same time. I can is puedo. Puedo. So I want, quiero, and I can, puedo. How would you say, I want to go to the party? Just look at the first two columns. I want to go to the party. What would that be? Quiero ir a la fiesta. Quiero ir a la fiesta. I want to go to the party. And how would you say, I can play football? I can play football. What would that be? Puedo jugar al fútbol. And I know it looks like I can to play football, but obviously we would just say I can play football. Puedo jugar al fútbol. And we'll just take a quick pause there while I mention our very popular levels 1 to 6 course. This takes the complete beginner or a near beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in a series of very easy to follow steps. All the lessons on this YouTube channel are supplementary, whereas the core levels 1 to 6 is very much a step-by-step program delivered by the same teacher as all the other videos on the ProSpanish YouTube channel. And while the style is very similar to what you'll be used to from these videos on the channel, the key difference is that every lesson carefully builds on the previous lessons so that you can really feel that progress of going from very little or no Spanish up to a level where you can confidently hold a conversation in Spanish. So again, that's available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, let's go down to the next two. So I'm going to, really useful. We can talk about the future now. Voy a, voy a, voy a. I'm going to. And I hope is espero, espero. And espero also means I wait. But right now we're going to use the I hope meaning. Espero, espero, I hope. How would you say, I hope to speak Spanish? Espero hablar español. Espero hablar español. And in fact, we could add the word pronto. Pronto sounds like the English pronto. Pronto, soon. Espero hablar español pronto. I hope to speak Spanish soon. And how about, let's try an I'm going to one. How would you say, I'm going to do something active? What would that be? Voy a hacer algo activo. Voy a hacer algo activo. I'm going to do something active. Okay, let's look at the next two. So the next two are I've just, acabo de. So really good to say what you've just done. Acabo de. And suelo is I tend to. It's also used to say I usually do something. So I tend to or I usually do something. So acabo de and suelo. What do you think this means? Acabo de hacer algo útil. Acabo de hacer algo útil. I've just done something useful. Looks a bit like I've just to do something useful, but it's I've just done something useful is how we would say it in English. And how would you say, I tend to order something different? What would that be? Suelo pedir algo diferente. Suelo pedir algo diferente. So I tend to order something different, or I usually order something different. Okay, the next two. Tengo que is I have to. So tengo is I have, but if we want to say I have to, as in I must, it's tengo que. And I would like or I'd like, me gustaría, me gustaría. How would you say? I'd like to go out. What would that be? Me gustaría salir. Me gustaría salir. I'd like to go out. How would you say, I have to go to the bank? Tengo que ir al banco. Tengo que ir al banco. And our final two are in the past tense. So I tried, intenté, and I decided, decidí. So I tried like I intended, intenté. I tried, and I decided, decidí. What does this mean? Decidí ir de vacaciones. Decidí ir de vacaciones. I decided to go on holiday. How about, well, how would you say? I tried to speak Spanish. Intenté hablar español. Intenté hablar español. Okay, so already we've got a huge amount of incredibly useful language. So just looking at those two columns, how would you say, I've just ordered something different? Acabo de pedir algo diferente. Acabo de pedir algo diferente. And it's important that you think through the answers, so make sure you pause the video to give yourself some thinking time before you hear the answer. And we could say, instead of acabo de pedir algo diferente, we could say acabo de pedir un café. I've just ordered a coffee. Or acabo de pedir una pizza. I've just ordered a pizza. Okay, how would you say this? I'm going to go out. Voy a salir. Voy a salir. And we can double the amount we can say just by adding no in front of any of these. So, I want quiero. I don't want no quiero. I can is puedo. I can't, no puedo. So we just add no before any of these to make a negative. So how would you say, I'm not going to go to the party. No voy a ir a la fiesta. No voy a ir a la fiesta. And that might be because you have to do something. Tengo que hacer algo. No voy a ir a la fiesta. Tengo que hacer algo. Okay, let's have a look at the last column. So, nice and easy. Contigo, with you. Contigo. That con is the with part, so contigo, with you. Con Dani, with Dani. Con Dani. Con él, with him. Con él. Con ella, with her. So just looking at the last two columns, how would you say to go on holiday with her? Ir de vacaciones con ella. Ir de vacaciones con ella. Well, let's extend that and include the first column. How would you say, I hope to go on holiday with her? Espero ir de vacaciones con ella. Espero ir de vacaciones con ella. How would you say to do something with you? Hacer algo contigo. Hacer algo contigo. Okay, let's go down to let's look at the next three. You can see they all start with esta, and esta is this. So if you look at the first one, esta noche, tonight, it's actually this night. So the way of saying tonight in Spanish is this night, esta noche. Then this week, esta semana, esta semana. And then this time, esta vez. Remember the V pronounced like a B, and here the Z is pronounced like a th, a th. In Latin America, it's pronounced like a s, vez. So esta vez or esta vez, this time. What does it mean if I say, just looking at the last two columns, pedir algo diferente esta vez? To order something different this time. How would you say to go out tonight? Salir esta noche. Salir esta noche. And next we have más tarde, more late. We would say later. More late, más tarde. So you also learn more when you learn later. Más tarde, more late or later. And then mañana is tomorrow. Mañana. How would you say to play football tomorrow? Jugar al fútbol mañana. Jugar al fútbol mañana. How about to go to the bank later? What would that be? Ir al banco más tarde. Ir al banco más tarde. And finally, in the end, al final. Al final, like in the final, to the final. In the end, al final. How would you say to go on holiday in the end? Actually, let's make a more meaningful sentence. How would you say, I can't, remember to start with no, I can't go on holiday in the end? What would that be? No puedo ir de vacaciones al final. No puedo ir de vacaciones al final. And this is a good time to use our listening pyramids. These are unique to ProSpanish. So we start at the top and we will work our way down, each time building a little bit more onto our phrase. Okay, so let's have a listen.
Me gustaría.
Me gustaría. Me gustaría.
So me gustaría meaning I'd like or I would like. Me gustaría. Next, we're going to add a little bit more to that.
Me gustaría hablar.
Me gustaría hablar.
Me gustaría hablar.
Me gustaría hablar, and that meant I would like to speak. I would like to speak. Next.
Me gustaría hablar contigo.
Me gustaría hablar contigo.
Me gustaría hablar contigo.
Me gustaría hablar contigo. I'd like to speak with you. We might say I'd like to speak to you, but in Spanish it works out as I'd like to speak with you. And the final part.
Me gustaría hablar contigo más tarde.
Me gustaría hablar contigo más tarde.
Me gustaría hablar contigo más tarde.
Me gustaría hablar contigo más tarde. Now, can you remember what the más tarde was? More late. So I'd like to speak with you later, or I'd like to speak to you later. And the brilliant thing about these pyramids, we can use them for speaking practice as well. So either you can do this at the end, or you can do it as you go. So we can just click on, well, you can work your way down, or you can start in the middle. So let's just take one. We click the microphone, the English will appear, and we have to say the Spanish. Me gustaría hablar. Okay, that's good. And let's go straight down to the last one. Me gustaría hablar contigo más tarde. Okay, so that's fine. And there are 600 of these included in the all-in-one ProSpanish course available from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, so this is a slightly longer one. Start at the top again.
Al final. Al final. Al final.
And can you remember? Al final, in the end. And on our table, we had al final at the end in the final column. So we could say, I'm going to do it in the end, but we could also start with it in the end. And let's see what else we have.
Al final, decidí.
Al final, decidí.
Al final, decidí.
Al final, decidí. In the end, I decided.
Al final, decidí pedir algo.
Al final, decidí pedir algo.
Al final, decidí pedir algo.
Al final, decidí pedir algo. In the end, I decided to order something. Let's build on that.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente. In the end, I decided to order something different. And let's see the next one.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente esta vez. Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente esta vez.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente esta vez.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente esta vez. So quite tricky. What does that mean? In the end, I decided to order something different this time. So esta vez, this time. And we can click the show again to get rid of the text and listen again.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente esta vez.
And then show it. And play it.
Al final, decidí pedir algo diferente esta vez.
So you can see this is a really good way to tune your ear to fast Spanish right from the beginning. And it does it in a manageable way so you can build it up starting from a smaller fragment up to a full complex sentence. And again, there are 600 of these included in the all-in-one ProSpanish course. Okay, we'll go back to the table again now, and time for you to do some speaking using the whole table. So how would you say, I hope to play football tomorrow? What would that be? Espero jugar al fútbol mañana. Espero jugar al fútbol mañana. How about, I decided to go out in the end. Decidí salir al final. Decidí salir al final. And as we saw in the listening pyramid, we could start with al final. We could say, in the end I decided to go out. Al final decidí salir. And how about, I tried to speak Spanish with her? What would that be? Intenté hablar español con ella. Intenté hablar español con ella. Let's do a negative one. I can't. How would you say, I can't go to the party with him? No puedo ir a la fiesta con él. No puedo ir a la fiesta con él. And there might be a reason. I have to do something with Danny. What would that be? Tengo que hacer algo con Danny. Tengo que hacer algo con Danny. And this time we'll swap things around a little bit. So starting with the final column, this time. This time I want to order something different. What would that be? Esta vez quiero pedir algo diferente. Esta vez quiero pedir algo diferente. So just with this table, just with what we've done now, there are 1,000 combinations, there are 1,000 phrases we can make from this. And the great thing is that it's so easy to learn thousands more just by building and expanding on this with new vocabulary. We can have new verb phrases. Jugar al fútbol, to play football, but we can have jugar al tenis, jugar al rugby, jugar al hockey. We can have to order things. We can have, at the moment we've got to order something different, but we can have pedir una Coca-Cola, to order a Coke. Pedir una paella, to order a paella. We can add in completely new verbs. Practicar, to practice. Practicar español, to practice Spanish. Acabo de practicar español con ella. I've just practiced Spanish with her. And on it goes, expanding your ability to communicate at a really fast exponential rate. Okay, so just before we move on to the more advanced part of this video, another reminder that the Levels 1 to 6 course and our very popular all-in-one course are available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, let's move on to the part for our more advanced subscribers. A lot of the language is very similar to what we've just seen, and there are some important changes in the middle column, which we'll come to in a minute. But first of all, let's look at the first column, how we start our sentences. So our first one is no digo que. No digo que. I'm not saying that. We could say I don't say that, but the way we're going to use the phrase is I'm not saying that. No digo que, and then whatever it might be. No parece que. It doesn't seem that. We might say it doesn't look like ... So, no parece que, it doesn't seem that, or it doesn't look like. And then, no es verdad que. It's not true that. No es verdad que. And all of these, well, these three phrases refer to something not being the case. We're basically saying it's not the case that, so I'm not saying that, it doesn't look like, whatever it might be, and it's not true that. And that will always trigger the subjunctive. All three of these in the affirmative would not trigger the subjunctive. It's because we are saying it's not the case that. If you say it is the case that it's like this, then no subjunctive. But it's not the case, then subjunctive. And so in our middle column, we're going to use the imperfect subjunctive because we want to talk about the past. And the past subjunctive is called the imperfect subjunctive. So we'll be saying things like, I'm not saying that he went to the party. It doesn't look like she went out in the end. I won't go through the formation of the subjunctive as there's a separate video on this. The basic thing to remember is that you start off with the they in the preterite in the past. For example, fueron. Take off the ron and add ra, and you end up with fuera. But that's all I'll say about it now. That's just as a little reminder for those of you who already know but may have forgotten. So, fuera a la fiesta, he or she went to the party, imperfect subjunctive. Fuera al banco, fuera de vacaciones, jugara al fútbol, hiciera algo activo, hiciera algo útil, pidiera algo diferente, hablara español, and saliera. So I mentioned he and she before as the form that we have here. He or she went to the party. He or she ordered something different, but it's exactly the same form for I as well. So I'm not saying I went out with him. No digo que saliera con él. But to keep things simple, we're just going to use he and she did, whatever it might be. Okay, so what does this mean? No digo que hablara español con él. No digo que hablara español con él. I'm not saying that she spoke Spanish to him. What about this? No es verdad que fuera de vacaciones con Dani. No es verdad que fuera de vacaciones con Dani. It's not true that she or he went on holiday with Dani. How about, no es verdad que fuera a la fiesta con Dani. No es verdad que fuera a la fiesta con Dani. It's not true that she or he went to the party with Danny. Okay, let's swap around and you do the speaking now. How would you say, I'm not saying that she went out in the end. No digo que saliera al final. No digo que saliera al final. How about, it doesn't look like she played football in the end. No parece que jugara al fútbol al final. No parece que jugara al fútbol al final. How about, it's not true that he ordered pizza. No es verdad que pidiera pizza. No es verdad que pidiera pizza. And if we wanted to say he or she did it, lo hiciera, assuming we're using the imperfect subjunctive. Lo hiciera. How would you say, I'm not saying she did it in the end? What would that be? No digo que lo hiciera al final. No digo que lo hiciera al final. How about, it doesn't look like he did it this time. No parece que lo hiciera esta vez. No parece que lo hiciera esta vez. And let's apply that lo to he or she ordered it. Lo pidiera. How would you say, it's not true that he ordered it this week? No es verdad que lo pidiera esta semana. No es verdad que lo pidiera esta semana. And that's all we have time for in today's Pro-Spanish lesson. As mentioned earlier, if you're looking to become a confident and a competent speaker of Spanish, then head over to prospanish.co.uk where you can download the full Levels 1 to 6 course.